All right, I was asked to talk about the rundown particularly. There is a course, but there is some processing that is done also on the 2D, and this is if needed. The processing is done. It's about looking at past lives. Depends on the PC. It's really CS for the PC. And looking down his track, things like that, or even like finding metal blocks. Why he doesn't have a 2D. You must have some metal blocks, otherwise you would have your soulmate already. And so the rundown handles these metal blocks that you might have. Maybe back off on the other dynamics or the other in finding a soulmate. Maybe back off in the other sex. You know, you may have back off on women if you're a man, or back off on men if you're a woman. There might be a lot of human emotions about it that need to be handled, and reactions about it. So this is what processing on the 2D handles is like your back off on it. Maybe clean up OWs about past 2D relationships. If you have a lot of overts on 2D relationships, maybe you're holding yourself back because of all these overts now. You don't want to commit more overts, right? So there's a lot of processing to be done, dianetically and scientologically. Yeah, it's an incredible rundown.
Okay, from the practical viewpoint, may I ask how is it done? Does it have to be like the pre-clear contacting you and making arrangement and setting up the time and traveling to you, and how is it done? Or maybe you can talk over Skype, or do you do it over the phone, or do you travel? How is it practically done?
Well, the course could be done as a group. We can do the course, a lot of the techniques on the and I've done it with up to 50, 100 people in one room. But the processing course is one-on-one on a meter, and then you do the processing one-on-one on a meter. Can it be done over Skype? No. Say the only thing that can be done over Skype is after you've done the workshop on it, and you had some processing. The rest of it could be done over Skype because you know what I'm talking about and you know what you're doing. And we could just, in fact, we continue to work with you until you find a soulmate. I mean, once you've done the course. We don't just drop you. Oh, you finished the course, you have to pay more. No. We continue to work with you until you do find your soulmate. We don't guarantee you'll find your soulmate because that depends on you and how much of the booklet you do, how much of the procedure you do. The more if you do every step in the procedure, you'll find your soulmate. That's what usually happens.
Did it happen to you?
Yes, it did. 26 years ago. This is how long I had the tech. I've had this technology for over 30 years. It works. Proven it works. I've gone to Europe and done it with people in Europe. I think the Netherlands, and there was Germans and there was some Russians in that. I'm pretty sure in that group. So it works. I got a lot of proof on it. If you do every step.
How did it work for you personally?
How did it work for me? I was able to remote view, see what my soulmate looked like in the present, on planet Earth, in here and now.
Did you find her?
So we teach you how to remote view a little bit. Yes, I did find her. And yeah, so if I can do it, anybody can do it. Okay, I was asked to tell my personal story, how I found my soulmate. And the procedure, I go over it at the convention. That should be on the site. So I'm not going to go over the procedure other than I was working on this project to find a soulmate. I dug all the information LRH had on 2Ds for one. And then I did the procedure, and sure enough, remote viewed my 2D before I met her. I knew exactly what she looked like. In fact, I knew she was in Florida, and I kept thinking, and I kept wanting to go to Florida. And because economics, I couldn't make it. But this is one thing we try to tell people is this has got to be a priority. If I put it on a priority, I would have met her maybe a year before I did meet her, maybe 2 years. So I did the procedure, and she was in town one day in San Francisco. She was only going to be there overnight, and then she was going to go down to LA, Los Angeles. So I quickly went to San Francisco that night. It was Auditor's Day. I think the org had an event on Auditor's Day in 1980. I think it was 85. And so we went there. So I went there with a friend of mine, and was talking to some people, and I was sitting almost in the front row, and there was like 250 people there at least. And the event was going on, front row of the stage was there, and people were talking, and they had speakers. Excuse me. And so I talked to a friend of mine, and the friend said, well, she might be right here in this audience. And I said, you're right, this is why I came here tonight, because I haven't been in San Francisco for a year or two, to the orgs. I had my own mission. And so I stood up, and I looked at the crowd. I just confronted the whole crowd, 250 people, right in the middle of the event. Didn't care if people were looking at me or not. Yeah, and I spotted her over here with her older sister. Her sister's a little taller than her. I looked at him, I said, that looks like the soulmate. And I told a friend of mine that we're going to meet those people during break. And all of a sudden, she stood up, her and her sister, Leslie, my wife, stood up, and they walked down. And I said, it's time to go, to my buddy. And he goes, what? He didn't know what was happening. So we went out, and they came down to the lobby of the hotel that it was in. And I just walked up to her, and I said, hello. Remember that movie, You Had Me at Hello? Remember that Tom Cruise movie? Yeah. She looked at me, and it was like that kind of communication. I had her in hello, and she had me in hello. I mean, we looked at each other, and so we talked, and I said, it wasn't like love at first sight. It was that I knew that was the soulmate that I viewed, remote viewed. But there was some sort of connection, because I said, well, you'd like to have some coffee after the event? And they said, after we chatted for a while. And her and her sister said, yeah, because we were looking for coffee. So we went back into the event, and then we had coffee later. And after a couple hours chat, we decided to meet again the next day. And we did. And we toured around California a little bit, and then they decided to, the next day, to go to Los Angeles. And we hit it off real well. I mean, it was like, I pretty much told her where my goals were and purposes. And of course, she was an auditor, class 4, and I did the briefing course and all that stuff. So we got in good comm, and we decided to meet in Los Angeles. So she went off to Los Angeles, and after a few days, I'm going, I don't want anything to do with my old girlfriends, because she's the one. And so what I did was left for LA immediately. Within 4 or 5 days, I went to Los Angeles, got a place to stay, contacted her, and started dating and getting to know her more. And within 6 months, we were married. And I probably would have married her that night. I mean, that's how certain I knew, that it was going to work out. And we've been married 26 years now, quite happily. Every day is Saturday for us. It's like, it's just wonderful. So if I could experience this, others can, and others have experienced this. There's other people who have found the one. The way I look at it is like, for a guy, we're always looking for either a one-night stand or a meantime person or the one. And if we find the one, that's a keeper. We want to keep her. We want to do whatever we can for this thing. We'll work in the coal mines if we have to. That's how much we value the person that we think is the one. So there you go. That's my story. And if you've seen and know my wife, you would say, of course he loves her. And I do. Okay, that's all I have to say.